There are places in this world where history feels normal during the day. But at night, everything changes. The wind sounds different. The silence feels heavier. And the deeper you look into the past, the more terrifying the truth becomes. High in the mountains of Romania, surrounded by endless forests and cold fog, stands one of the most feared castles ever built, Bran Castle. Most people know it as Dracula's Castle. To tourists, it's a famous attraction, a Gothic fortress filled with legends, souvenirs, and vampire stories. But to many locals, the castle carries something darker, because long before Dracula became a movie monster, there was a real man whose name spread fear across Europe. A ruler so violent, so feared, that people believed he wasn't fully human. His name was Vlad Dracula, the man history would later remember as Vlad the Impaler. And the terrifying part is, many of the stories about him were real. Vlad was born in the 1400s during one of the bloodiest periods in Eastern European history. The lands surrounding Romania were constantly threatened by war, invasions, betrayal, and executions. Violence wasn't uncommon back then, but Vlad became known for taking brutality to another level entirely. Historical records describe him as intelligent, strategic, and extremely cruel to his enemies. And over time, stories about his punishments became legendary. It's said Vlad would execute thieves, traitors, and invading soldiers in horrifying ways designed to spread fear. His most infamous method was impalement. Victims would be placed onto giant wooden stakes and left displayed publicly as warnings to others. Some stories claimed entire fields were filled with bodies, thousands of them. Travelers entering his lands reportedly described forests of wooden spikes stretching across the horizon, the smell of death covering the air, birds circling overhead, and silence everywhere else. One old story claimed invading armies turned around after witnessing the aftermath of Vlad's punishments, not because they lost the battle, but because they were psychologically terrified. People across Europe began whispering stories about him. Some believed he drank blood, others claimed he made deals with dark forces, and eventually, his name transformed into something almost supernatural: Dracula. The name itself came from his father's title connected to an order known as the Order of the Dragon, but over time, the name became associated with evil itself. Centuries later, Irish author Bram Stoker became fascinated by Eastern European folklore. He researched old vampire legends, dark myths, and stories about Vlad Dracula. And in 1897, he released one of the most famous horror novels ever written, Dracula. The book introduced the world to Count Dracula, a mysterious vampire nobleman living inside a dark castle in Transylvania, a creature that hunted people during the night, a monster that survived by drinking blood. And while Stoker never directly confirmed which castle inspired Dracula's home, people quickly connected the story to Bran Castle, because the castle looked exactly like something from a nightmare. Tall stone walls, sharp towers, narrow staircases, dark hallways, secret passageways, and thick forests surrounding it in every direction. Especially during winter, the castle almost disappears into the fog. At night, locals say the mountains become unnaturally quiet. Even today, many visitors describe feeling uneasy the moment they enter the castle. Some say it feels colder inside than it should. Others claim the silence feels strange, almost heavy. Tour guides have shared stories about footsteps echoing through empty rooms after closing hours. Security workers have reportedly heard doors shutting on their own. And tourists taking photographs sometimes claim mysterious dark figures appear in the background of their pictures. One story tells of a visitor who stayed until the final evening tour. According to the story, the castle was nearly empty by sunset, The guide led the final group through the upper rooms before warning everyone not to wander away alone. Most people laughed. They thought it was part of the performance. But one man reportedly ignored the warning and separated from the group while taking pictures. Minutes later, the group realized he was missing. At first, they assumed he got lost in another hallway. But after several minutes of searching, they began hearing strange noises echoing from one of the towers. Not footsteps, not voices, breathing. Slow breathing. Slow. The guide called out for the man several times. No response. Then suddenly, they found him standing completely still near a window overlooking the forest. Frozen. Staring into the darkness outside. When they finally approached him, he reportedly whispered something disturbing. "He's down there." The guide asked who, but the man refused to answer. According to the story, he left the castle pale and shaking. And later that night, he developed a severe fever and nightmares. Some versions of the legend claim he refused to speak about what he saw ever again. Whether true or not, stories like these continue to spread around the castle. But Bran Castle may not even be the most terrifying location connected to Vlad Dracula, because hidden deep in the mountains is another fortress far more connected to the real ruler himself, Poenari Castle. Unlike Bran Castle, Poenari isn't surrounded by crowds of tourists and gift shops. It sits isolated high above the forests on steep cliffs. To reach it, visitors must climb over 1,400 stairs through dense woods and silence. The climb alone feels unsettling. The deeper people go into the mountains, the quieter everything becomes. Even during daylight, many visitors describe feeling watched. The fortress itself now lies mostly in ruins. Broken stone walls, collapsed towers, dark, empty openings leading nowhere. But historians believe Vlad actually used Poenari as one of his true strongholds, and according to legend, many prisoners died building and expanding the fortress. Some stories claim workers were forced to carry stones up the mountainside until they collapsed from exhaustion. Others say executions happened near the cliffs. And locals believe the area never recovered from the suffering that happened there. One of the most famous legends connected to Poenari involves Vlad's wife. According to the story, enemy forces surrounded the fortress during an invasion. Rather than be captured, she threw herself from the castle cliffs into the river below. Locals claim her spirit still wanders the mountains searching for escape. Some hikers have reported hearing crying sounds at night near the ruins. Others claim they've seen pale figures standing between the trees before disappearing into the fog. Even stranger, there are stories from travelers who say electronics suddenly stop working around parts of the fortress. Phones lose signal, cameras malfunction, and batteries drain unusually fast. Skeptics say it's just isolation and imagination, but locals often disagree. Many older residents avoid the area after sunset completely. Some won't even speak about the castle at night. Because in Romania, these stories aren't treated like fictional ghost tales. For centuries, people genuinely feared vampires and evil spirits. Villagers once believed the dead could return from the grave if proper burial rituals weren't followed. Some graves were reportedly reopened years later to check for signs of undead activity. Bodies found unusually preserved sometimes caused panic. And in remote regions, stories about creatures feeding on the living spread from village to village. Fear itself became part of everyday life. And when stories about Vlad Dracula mixed with vampire folklore, the legend became unstoppable. Eventually, Dracula became larger than history itself. Movies, books, tourism, Halloween decorations. But underneath all the entertainment, there's still something deeply unsettling about the real story. Because unlike fictional monsters, Vlad Dracula was real. The wars were real. The executions were real. The fear was real. And standing inside those ancient castles today, it becomes easy to understand why the legends never died. Especially at night. Especially when the fog rolls through the mountains. Because somewhere inside those stone walls, history still feels alive. And maybe that's what truly terrifies people, not the idea of vampires, but the possibility that places filled with violence, fear, and death never fully let go of the past. And if you ever find yourself walking alone through the halls of Dracula's castle after dark, pay attention to the silence, because according to local legends, sometimes you're not alone there.